I think one of my key attributes regards to myself is that I like to be a code analyzer. Like I believe in equal opportunity for everyone. And with that said, I always figure that besides the other fact that you had individuals not wanting to vote for Kamala Harris, that you had individuals primarily in the Hispanic community who necessarily knew better than to allow a whole bunch of immigration over here that they knew that it was going to cause problems for them necessarily to being over here, and you continuing to allow immigration to pump into this country, that it was just going to make things that much worse for them. So we're going to go over and we're going to hear from Cesar Chavez. This is a man who has passed away a long time ago, early 2000s, I believe. And we're going to hear what he had to say early on with regards to allowing illegal immigration into this country so that we can get a full spectrum of the views without being one-sided in terms of just being open-minded, just having an opportunity to explore all the mechanisms that illegal immigration plays, into the United States.
Um, this question of the illegals is, I find very interesting. Would you say that it's at this particular moment as important as any of the other problems facing the union?
Oh, yes. In the last 3 weeks, the last 2 weeks, it has become an emergency for us. Well, there's an awful lot of illegals coming in by the hundred, by the thousands. Our people are not only in some of the crews where there's now strike breaking. Some of those crews are 100% illegals, outright, openly, with no attempt to disguise it. And so it's so bad now that we estimate 60 to 70% of the farm workers in California, of the resident worker, of the citizen, is out of a job because of the wetbacks. They're coming in by the thousands, just unbelievable. See, they're coming in with the consent of the Immigration Service, which is part of the Department of Justice. How else could they come? We, for instance, know that if you go to Coachella, you go to around the El Paso area, the secondary immigration checkpoints have been unmanned now for at least 3-4 weeks. They're closed. They're at night. They're dark. There aren't any patrolmen there. It's a gimmick. We think that it's a prelude at the beginning to a big drive on the part of the administration and the Mexican government to bring the Bracero program again. It's a vicious attack on the local worker, and it's just one of those things that agribusiness thinks they can get away with it. And our job is to inform the whole country what's happening, together with a boycott, and solve it that way. And so the workers themselves, even though a lot of them are Mexican descendancy themselves, are very uptight and very, very worried and very mad about the illegals coming to break their strikes, and it takes away their jobs, their livelihood, and so forth.
Does that put you in an uncomfortable position um, to be against the illegal immigrants because they are from Mexico? In other words, part of your program has been an appeal to equal treatment of people of Mexican origin. Right?
Oh, yeah, sure, but we're speaking of the legal ones. We don't want Mexico to export its poverty to us, and then we pay. It's not the agriculture, it's not society in general, it's a farm worker, again, paying for those sins, And Mexico should take the initiative and stop exporting the poverty to us. They should do something about the rural economy over there. And then, see, it's a way of breaking the strike. It's a way of demoralizing the farm workers. And for instance, the workers are going to ask for stamps, for food stamps. They're lining up the offices for welfare, and they're being told, we can't give you a job because there are plenty of jobs. And the workers say, well, there aren't any jobs. We just came from the fields. They won't hire us, or they just laid us off because either because we're strikers, or because we're members of the union, or because the illegals will do the job for half the money we're getting.
So as you can see there, that was coming from Mr. Cesar Chavez himself with regards to illegal immigration. And you just hear that he's saying the same thing that Mr. Donald Trump is saying today, that he's trying to make necessarily people recognize that illegal immigration is not a good thing for the nation. And Mexico needs to do better in not dumping its economic circumstance off on to not only the legal immigrant, but the American citizen. And because you can see pure point blank, even in 1974, at the time of that video, that it was a problem. So when you look at how can Mexico use this as an opportunity to re-inspire the fact or the thought of circular migration with regards to something that it does have. It does have a workforce that the United States can most certainly use. First of all, Mexico has got to get out this whole aspect of the pride of its country being the cartels, because that's no longer going to work for the United States. One thing's for sure. How the hell do you think that we're going to allow you to come over here, or excuse me, to dump your drugs over here, work with other states such as Venezuela, such as Cuba, such as the Chinese, to make this a drop-off point to sell your narcotics into this country when we just had a war on drugs with regards to black people? We locked millions of those peoples up, and you want to sit here and persistently think that we are going to allow you to draw a bigger pride within your economic system to allow you to continually dump your drugs over here. Not only drugs, but your people who are being used as mules to bring that stuff over. You're right. First of all, I think that black people don't get a lot of credit for the building of the cartel in all these other countries. Because if it wasn't for black people who began to sell all these drugs after, the government began to take the running them numbers, like you got the lottery system today, things that of that nature, that's when drugs became a key factor in the neighborhood, when you took away the running the numbers. So the whole idea with regards to a lottery system is, primarily a black invention, a black thing. Secondly, so how can Mexico absolutely use this as an opportunity to correct this system and encourage circular migration, and use that as a benefit to the Mexico economy, especially when all this remittance has stopped, meaning that you are able to just be allowed to go and send money back from the country in which you came from. And that is a national security risk, threat, however you want to call it, just due from the fact that that money is being used to support the cartels in some instances, but it could be used for a general benefit for individuals to support their families over there as well. However, what Mexico needs to do is this: they need to work a kind of like a joint venture with the United States, so that these people that want to come over here and want to share into the economic workforce within the United States has the opportunity to do so, and they have an opportunity to be tracked. They have an opportunity to be come over here, make some quick bucks, and instead of making that smaller wage over there in Mexico, here they have an opportunity to make, an abundance amount of more in comparison into an hourly wage over here in the United States, particularly in the Southwest of the United States, California, that is, Los Angeles, that is. So here you are with opportunity to where America needs that work gap to be filled. Here you are with opportunity to where you can have a mechanism to where a joint venture can be available, just like what they do in the transportation industry, to where you are able to supply these workers with a job. You know where they're going, you know who they're going to work for, you know that they're going to be taken care of somehow in some way, so that one thing's for sure, the legal immigrant and the citizen do not have to foot the bill for individuals to come across the border and need the social services that right now Trump is not giving any, is not caring about. If you are not being a public benefit to the United States right now, and see, this is why I always try to let people understand what immigration is about. You are supposed to be a public benefit to the United States of America. It's not for you to come over here and exploit what American has so that you can just exploit it for the benefit of yourself. You are supposed to come over here in terms of immigration. That's what the immigration system is always primarily been about. It's not just about humanitarianism and refugees and we feel compassionate for these people for what they have going on in this country. No, Americans always understood that. So what Mexico needs to do is it needs to get on its job and work out this joint venture program to where people can be counted. People can be, if an individual doesn't go back, then that just draws down on the number from the next person being able to come into this country and be able to be not only a benefit to their family, but a benefit to Mexico itself. If that can work out in terms of a trading agreement with the United States, what better way than to do it than with a joint venture program? That way things can be more appreciated. These people can be more appreciated, to be more clear of an understanding of what the immigration system in the United States of America is absolutely supposed to be about. Because on a Democratic side of the perspective, they have us paying. They are not only trying to draw up a new voter base with regards to immigrations. They being radical. They are going against laws that they themselves have created in this country in order to stop the flow of immigration and to seek the immediate deportation of those who have illegally entered this country. But if you recognize, they have the taxpayer footing the bill to pay for them to gain a new voter base. And so look at the corruption in that in itself. Like I said, everything that has been wrong with this country has most definitely came out of the Democratic Party, bro. Like the Democratic Party should have ended with the Civil War, but as a brother. And in order to join back the Union, the people in them times did not let it end when the party should have ended. They shouldn't have no power, because what they're doing nowadays is everything that you see with regards to fraud is coming out of the Democratic Party. Everything that is wrong with the country today is coming out of the Democratic Party. And it was the same thing with regards to the making of the Civil War. Everything that was going wrong with regards to the growth of the country was coming out of the Democratic Party. Look how much more you was able to get out the African American in terms of inventions and stuff, besides of just using them for your agricultural aspects of your work sectors. So if Mexico can jump in on that, I think Donald Trump would be more than with that. The tourist industry, transportation industry, always needs an additional workforce, and the hospitality industry always needs additional workforce. And you got places like in California where they are pretty much the headliners in those industries, where there's food, transportation, tourism, which is like transportation as well. But hospitality, it's so much so if you see another race in those industries, them people that are in them industries are pretty much like, man, what the hell are you doing here? But here is the opportunity so everybody can get a chance at the American dream. It doesn't have to be just come here, you know, you should be able to come here. You should be able to make your little money. You should be able to stay your little 1 or 2 years. You should be able to have to go back. And man, you can do a whole lot more for not only yourself, but the Mexico economy at the same time. Tiny Cross-H.U.G on the Trumped Up Live show. Always remember to like, share, subscribe to the channel. Leave some comments on what you think about from that, what you think about that with regards to that perspective, man. Always remember as well, man, it's a good day to be a soldier. It's all about what kind of soldier you want to be.